All right. 6.1 part 2, algebraic expressions. So we're still just simplifying expressions. So we're not going to have any equal signs. Just going to reduce as much as we can. Okay, so today is still I can simplify algebraic expressions. We're going to introduce the distributive property. So key term number 1, this is multiplication of a factor with all the terms inside of the parentheses. So it'll kind of look like this. We'll have a number A on the outside of the parentheses, and we will multiply it by everything on the inside of the parentheses, like this. Those are multiplication signs, and we'll get A times B plus A times C. And the reason we got plus is because it was plus in here. And then the same thing is for subtraction, A times B, A times C, and we'll get AB minus AC. And that'll make a little more sense when we have actual numbers, but just remember we're going to multiply what's on the outside to everything that's on the inside. And then a factor is a number that is multiplied by another number to get a product, right? So like the factors of 8 would be 2 and 4 and 1 and 8, right? Because 2 and 4 multiply to get 8, and 1 times 8 gets us 8. Okay, so number that multiplies to get another number or a product. So we're going to first work on the distributive property. So here's our main example. So we would do 3 times 2x. Well, just like when we added, we don't actually do anything with the x. We just go 3 times 2 to get 6x. And then 3 times 4 gets me 12. And then we put the plus sign back because it was a plus sign here. Also, because this is positive, our answer is going to be positive. So our first example is 8 times our distributed to 4x and 3. And the reason we distribute is because 4x can't go with 3. Remember, those are not like terms. So in longhand, it would look like this. 8 times 4x plus 8 times 3. Okay, that's what we're doing. And so this becomes 32x plus 24. And that's our answer, because 32x cannot be combined with 24. No x's. Okay. So with plus sign, it's really easy. You just stick the plus sign back in. With minus sign, it can get a little tricky. So we're going to add the opposite first so that we can apply that negative. So we don't lose that negative. So now what we have is negative 4 times 9x plus negative 4 times negative 3y. Okay, so I just make sure I have the negative for the 3 because that's going to really change this answer, right? So negative 36x plus, now negative 4 times negative 3 is actually positive 12y. And so see, that's why that negative is so important, because that really changes our answer. And there's our answer, because x's cannot be combined with y's. So the first couple of examples, if you count this one as an example, we only had 2 terms inside of the parentheses, but now we have 3. It doesn't change it. We're just going to times 3 with the first term, 3 with the second term, and 3 with the last term. And so what I did there with the arrows is another way you can show you're distributing. You're sending this to all of these. So this is positive 4 times negative 3. So I would get negative 12x. Positive 2, see, there's my positive, times negative 3 would get me negative, I can actually go plus negative 6y. And then for this one, I got to be really careful. I got to take that negative with it. So negative 3 times negative 6 is actually a positive 18. So you can't lose your signs with this, just like we couldn't lose our signs when we were simplifying expressions in part 1. And then this will be our final answer, because x's can't go with y's, which can't go with no variables at all. So that's distributing. It's where you are multiplying to everything on the inside of our parentheses. So the other part of this is factoring. And factoring is just the opposite of distributing. So in distributive property, we multiplied into the parentheses. With factoring, we are going to take something out. So we're going to like divide and have parentheses. So we would look at our two terms, 2x and x, and we would look at what they have, what factors they have in common. Well, that would be then 2. So I would technically, what I'm doing, I'm going to divide by 2 to both of these. If I divide 2x by 2, I get 1x. And if I divide 2 by 2, I get 1. And then what I'm going to do is put that in parentheses and multiply by the 2 on the outside. Another way you can write it is the 2 on this side. This is more common. So I took that 2 I divided by and put it on the outside of the parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to do the next one. What do these two terms have in common? What factor do they have in common? So I would go, okay, they can both be divided by 3. So 3x divided by 3 is 1x. And then 9 divided by 3 is 3. I put that in parentheses and put the 3 on the outside. So a little cleaner version is 3 times 3x plus 3. So you can see it's the opposite of that distributive property. Now it looks like our first couple of examples. So it's the opposite direction. It's kind of like the inverse. So why don't you pause and see if you can do the last one, and then unpause and see if you get the same answer. So in this one, we would divide by 5. We would get x, or 1x plus 3. I would put that in parentheses and put the 5 on the outside. All right. So things to remember: distributive, means multiply. Ooh, pen's having issues. And when we factor, means divide in this case, right? So when we distributed, we were multiplying. When we factored, we divided, okay? So here's your independent practice. You're going to simplify this first one, and then you're going to factor the second one. So distributive property, first one, multiply. Factor, second one is divide. Don't forget to fill out your form and be ready to show your notes. Till next time.